Hey everyone, it's Nikki Shelton with Real Broker, and I've got Carrie Selby with Fairway. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fabulous. So we're having a fun conversation today about new versus old, right?
Yes.
What's your choice?
You know, I'm kind of like tired of doing things around my house, so maybe new.
I know I kind of almost am too, but but I remember when we bought our house, we bought a resale home, right? So I love that. So anyway, we're going to have a discussion today about what the differences are and the pros and cons and what makes sense for you, right? All right,
Yes.
let's get into it. Let's just jump right in today. So first of all, a new home is obviously something that is under construction or not even built yet. It might just be a plot of land, right? And you have no clue what it really is going to look like, which is kind of crazy when you go by and you spend so much money. It's like, I got dirt, right? I think
Yeah.
a lot of people say that, at least when they're starting off. And then obviously you get to go through the different phases of watching it be built. And sometimes they're already built and they just have never had anyone live in them because they're maybe a model home or one that got done earlier and it's an extra one, whatever. Or something filed a contract maybe. So we got new construction, or it could be like maybe you bought the plot of land and you're having your own person come and build it too. So there's that kind of build too. And then versus a home that's been on the market, somebody's owned it and they're selling it. Right? Okay. Could be several times. Could be right. It could be several times that they've sold it. I mean, some of these houses are getting really old. Like mine wasn't that old when I bought it. Now it's really old. So anyway. Okay. So what makes sense for you? So let's get in and go ahead and talk about this a little bit, huh? All right.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So let's talk about some of the factors that have to do with what is going to make it the right sense for you, right? So
Exactly.
a new construction, it's kind of cool because, if you're building your own house, you a lot of times will have color choices. Like you can pick out what color you want the walls inside. You can choose, what kind of cabinets you want. If you want, maybe a higher ceiling, a vaulted ceiling versus just a not, you might want to choose special molding, different flooring. I mean, you have a lot of options. So it's kind of fun and you can kind of choose what layout you want, but you're limited usually to what that layout looks like. I mean, they have choices, but you get to choose one. To me, it kind of drives me crazy, honestly, because I would hate to know that my neighbor 2 doors down has the exact same layout I do, or you know what I mean, just different colors or something. I think it'd be totally weird to walk into his houses look just like mine. I would just kind of find it strange. I don't know. That's just me. But a lot of the homes are kind of cool too. They have like the newest, greatest, latest technology, like the smart thermostats and like the, smart fireplaces or whatever. So, I mean, or lights. I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff that they're doing. The new Ring doorbells, the touchless ones that you don't have to remember to ring your key every time. They're more energy efficient. They don't have the old windows. They got new windows and they're all perfect and sealed and that's great. You have, usually the lot size are smaller, so you have less to maintain, and they're usually pretty, like the grass is, like you can kind of go with your scissors almost and cut them down one afternoon if you wanted to use scissors and do that. You would have to buy a lawnmower because there's not that much usually. Not all, but a lot of them, right? Especially the ones that are in the communities. And then there's a lot of like bark and stuff like that that's usually there. So there's a very low maintenance. And then obviously, if you move in and then I found a scratch on my cabinet. Well, let's fix that and replace that. I mean, you would get things done. So there's usually some type of warranty. And so if something happens to your house that first year, you're usually pretty good to go. So those are a lot of that's kind of some cool benefits, right? I mean,
Yes.
Latest, greatest stuff, and it's all sparkly and shiny new, and it's kind of cool. All right, let's talk about the other side now a little bit. I guess, I don't know, sorry. Some of the cons of it though, right? So
Yes.
I think I pretty much said all that.
Yeah.
Except for the
I think
higher
one of the
cost.
things could be delays, though. That's a big thing. I had somebody that was doing new construction during COVID, and because of the lack of materials, it took almost a year to close the house. So that's something you definitely run into. And you also are at the mercy of the market and how much materials cost. So they could quote you one price at the beginning, and it could potentially increase due to
Absolutely.
their materials.
Yeah, and
increasing in price.
with all the tariffs and stuff going on right now, I'm sure those prices are all rising, and that's going to push those prices even higher. So it could be more expensive to buy a newer home, which would totally make sense. All right, let's look at the other side. Now we look at the other side. Previously owned homes. You know, I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for these because what I like most about them is they're not all the same. I mean, like they have a lot of character, there's a lot of appeal. There's some older established neighborhoods. So like when you know, like the new ones are all kind of like I said, they all look the same and stuff. But if you go into some of the older like neighborhoods and stuff like that, you might see more unique homes. People have been there for probably longer. They care about their neighborhoods a lot of times. Sometimes they don't. It just depends on where you're at. But you know, if you're looking like in that price range for the newer homes versus like an older home in the same, you know, a lot of those are gonna be really nice, you know, older neighborhoods too. There is a lot more room for negotiation because with older homes, one, you know, obviously one of the cons is going to be things break, right? You have kids and you know, they wreck stuff all the time, left and right. Every time you turn around, they break something else. And so you're always fixing something. But you know, a lot of times you don't get to all those fixes. And so when another person comes in to buy your home, there's some room to negotiate. Sometimes you put in some really cool upgrades though, and it increases the value of the home. So there's also the other side where you're negotiating for some of those upgrades too. Usually, not always, but usually it's faster move-in. I mean, you can usually get in a house between 30 and 45 days, probably the longest if that's the case. I like the unique features. I mean, one of the reasons we bought our house is because we have a secret door in our house, and I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, that was one of the reasons. But you know, a little hidden door, kind of cool. But and then also a lot of times it's a little bit of a lower price too, because you're not paying for everything all brand new all at once. So there's that.
And I feel like in this area, there's bigger lot sizes for homes that are more established. There's just a lot of the new construction homes. It's like you could just reach out the window and shake the neighbor's hand because your house is so close.
Or you can watch them get dressed, right? Or you can watch them get dressed.
Or have them watch you get dressed too.
Yeah, I like my privacy. So yeah, I definitely didn't want to do that. And we moved here from California, like this has been, gosh, almost 30 years ago now. But that's what they were doing, is they were building all these new construction homes right next to each other. And it was so claustrophobic for me. I was just like, I would not want to live there. And so one of the biggest draws and benefits when we moved here was the fact that most of the neighborhoods had the bigger lots. And I only had 2 kids at the time, but I wanted to have room for the kids to go out and play and have a dog and all that stuff. And with the little tiny yards that they get, I mean, you're fenced in, but I mean, you barely have time. You barely fit like 2 or 3 people out there comfortably. And, you know, it's tight. A lot of them are really tight. So, yeah. All right, let's talk about the cons. And I think we talked about a lot of these too. A couple we didn't talk about though. We talked about the repairs and maintenance a little bit because I mean, there's, you know, it's an older home. So you have to replace like the hot water heater. You have to place your dishwasher. You know, you have to repaint because it gets bashed into the wall a few times. So there's always stuff to do, yard work, whatever. You have bigger yards, and it's more yard work. So there are those kind of things that you have to do with older homes. But again, they're all not all the same. There's a charm to the older homes, which I just like adore. So the other thing is, you know, like I know my house was 1978. We definitely need new windows. I mean, it's like they're totally inefficient. We need new windows. Your newer home will have more efficient windows. So there's those kind of things. Fire doors. People don't think about weird things like that, but you know, there's new codes out and you have to have a fire door between your house and your garage. And a lot of times they were just the regular doors. So, you know, there's things that have to be updated to bring them up to code and stuff like that when you sell that people probably don't think about. Limited customization. I guess you're kind of, I don't know. I kind of see it as a good thing, not as a negative, because you can do a lot. I mean, people take down walls, they make them into, you know, a big open floor plan room, like that's popular with the newer construction. I don't know. I see a lot of benefits there. I don't see that as a negative, and I see that you can customize a home quite a bit.
I think you just don't get to pick and choose what your what type of appliances you get, what color your walls are going to be. More like when you do a new construction home, you can pick and choose what you want the builder to put into the home. So maybe that's
But once
what
you
they're
move,
thinking.
but once you move into the house, it's yours to do with what you want. So you could totally redo it all if you wanted to. So maybe that's where you go and, like we talked about last week, the low ball offers, maybe you go in and say, wow, it's really outdated. So I want to go in and do that. And maybe that's what your goals. Just thought about that one. All right. Unknown issues, that happens a lot. I mean, especially with some of these homes that are 100 years old or something. I mean, they're going to have the older wiring. They're going to have, and they're kind of grandfathered in because of what they are, but there's always things that break. I mean, maybe your light switch is flickering or something and you have to go do it. And maybe now you're replacing all your, your wires and stuff because they're outdated or something. And when it starts as a small job, it always ends up being a bigger job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like opening a big can of worms.
Yeah. So there's a lot of unknowns when you buy an older home. And anyway, so there is that. So you kind of go in with, knowing that you're going to be budgeting for doing some of this stuff. And then competitive market. It's like the popular older neighborhoods, people are still trying to get into them. So it could be, I really want to be in that neighborhood. So there could be bidding wars in that too.
A lot of it.
Bottom line is you really kind of have to know what your budget is, know what you want to do as far as, I'm going to walk in all new and not have to worry about repairs for the next 10 years. Or, I'm going to walk in and I got a budget set aside. I'm going to do these and then I'm going to continue working forward and taking care of projects and stuff as they come up. It just kind of depends on what kind of person you are. And there goes my dog this week. How fun. Okay. I hope, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I thought my headphones just went off, so I wasn't sure about that. So I'm hoping it worked. Okay. Anything else to add to these beautiful lists that we have as far as things we want to talk about versus new versus old?
No, I think we covered most of it.
Perfect. Okay. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining us again this week. We will see you next week. Same time, same place. And thanks for joining us.
See you next week.